The night I tell you this, lock your doors, sit down, breathe slow. This isn't one of my usual light-hearted chats, I promise you that. Tonight, we're talking about something a bit darker, something a bit closer to home than you might like. This is about 10 true neighbor horror stories, ordinary homes, ordinary people, and then the strange things right next door, things that defy simple explanation. Read with the lights on, check the locks. The familiar can become unfamiliar in a heartbeat. So, let's begin. On a street where every lawn was manicured and every neighbor known, the house at number 42 had sat empty for a decade. It was a dark tooth in an otherwise perfect smile. Then, in the dead of midwinter, someone moved in. No moving van was ever seen, no introductions were made. The new resident simply appeared. The neighbors, from behind their own curtains, began to watch the man in the house next door. He was a solitary figure, a ghost in his own home. The curtains, a faded and heavy fabric, were always pulled tight, a constant, unwavering barrier. It was impossible to tell if he was shutting out the world or desperately keeping something in. The mystery of it settled over the street like a low-hanging fog, a quiet shared obsession among the families who lived there. Every night, without fail, a single dim light would burn in the front room. It wasn't a welcoming light, it was weak, almost sickly, spilling a lonely amber glow onto the pavement that seemed to be absorbed by the darkness rather than pushing it back. One evening, a child, braver than the adults, crept close. She saw him then, a pale face pressed right up against the glass, staring out into the night. He was utterly still, his gaze fixed. The child later told her mother he wasn't blinking, not once. Alarmed, the mother pulled her daughter back, her own eyes drawn to the window. As she looked, the man's head turned, not with the fluid motion of a person, but slowly, mechanically, like a clockwork doll winding down. And in that moment, she saw what the child had missed. Where his eyes should have been, there were only dark, empty sockets, two perfect shadowed voids in a stark white face. The police arrived within minutes. They found the front door unlocked. The house was empty, not just of people, but of everything. No furniture, no food in the cupboards. A thick layer of dust suggested no sign of life for years. The only object they found was a single bare bulb hanging in the front room, cold and disconnected from any power source. Yet that night, the faint light returned, and the night after. A silent, impossible beacon in the abandoned house. The watching had stopped. One by one, the families moved away, unable to live beside the quiet wrongness of it all. On the last night, as the final moving van pulled away from the street, a pale face peered out from the window one last time, and then the light went out, leaving only darkness and a profound, waiting silence. A woman lived alone in a fourth-floor flat. She was a creature of habit and caution, her nightly ritual a testament to a deep-seated need for security. Every evening, she would check the peephole, slide the chain across, and turn the heavy-duty deadbolt until it clicked with a satisfying finality. The door was her fortress gate, and she was its sole keeper. She believed herself to be perfectly safe, sealed away from the world. One morning, she woke to find her fortress breached. The door stood wide open, inviting the hallway's silence into her home. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She crept through each room, expecting the worst, but there was no sign of a break-in. Nothing was missing, not a single item out of place. It was as if the door had simply forgotten its purpose. She dismissed it as a freak occurrence, a lapse in her own memory. But after returning from a short errand at noon, she found it again, open, gently swinging on its hinges as if a guest had just departed. She called a locksmith, a man with decades of experience etched into his hands. He examined every component from the strike plate to the cylinder and found no fault, no sign of tampering. Still, he replaced the entire assembly with a state-of-the-art anti-pick model. He tested it a dozen times, assuring her it was foolproof. "Nothing short of a ghost is getting through that," he'd said with a confident smile. That night, sleep offered no escape. In the suffocating silence of the dead of night, a single sharp click echoed from the hall. The door had opened by itself again. Terror now gave way to a desperate need for proof. She set her phone to record, propping it on a stack of books, the lens aimed squarely at the lock. She then retreated to her bed, not to sleep, but to wait. In the morning, she watched the footage with trembling hands. There, in the grainy low-light video, the brand new cylinder began to turn, slowly, deliberately, with a smooth mechanical precision, as if moved by an invisible key. The timestamp glowed in the corner, 2:13 a.m. She moved out that week, leaving most of her belongings behind. A new tenant, a young man, lasted a single night before fleeing, reporting the same impossible click, the same unnerving hour. The flat was never successfully rented again. Landlords and agents grew weary of the stories. They say the door still opens every night at 2:13 a.m., a silent, punctual invitation for a guest that no one can see and no lock can turn away. A young family in their dream home slept soundly. A loud, urgent knock shattered the silence. 3 a.m., he saw nothing, just a faint, muddy handprint. Footprints led into the dark. At 3 it returned. A voice, a thin whisper, called the baby by name. Police found fresh tracks to the fence next door. The neighbor's house was empty, bedroom walls scored with long, claw-like gouges. The knocks returned nightly. They barricaded the door. Then it stopped. Morning revealed a dark, greasy imprint beside the lock. The child never slept alone again. For the young couple, it was the dream. A sprawling Victorian house, filled with the kind of character modern homes could only imitate. They'd stretched their budget to the absolute limit, so when this one appeared on the market for a strangely low price, it felt like fate. The realtor had been vague, mentioning previous owners who left in a hurry, but the couple was too enchanted by the stained glass windows and original hardwood floors to press for details. It was perfect. Almost. There was one oddity, a single door at the top of the landing that wouldn't yield. The attic was locked, sealed shut with a heavy antique lock. The realtor claimed the key had been lost for decades. The couple, undeterred, promised themselves they'd call a locksmith eventually. For now, it was just a quirk of their new, old home. Weeks turned into months. One evening, while chasing a draft, they discovered a loose floorboard in the master bedroom. Beneath it, nestled in the dust and darkness, lay a small, ornate key. It was cold to the touch, its design intricate and unfamiliar. They knew instantly where it belonged. The lock turned with a painful groan. The air that escaped was stale, thick with the scent of lavender and decay. The attic wasn't for storage. It was a room frozen in time. It held a tiny bed, a child-sized chest of drawers, and a row of old-fashioned clothes, hanging as if waiting for their owner to return. Tucked inside the chest was a diary. Its pages told a fragmented story of a woman hiding. She wrote of a man who watched the house from the street, his shadow a constant presence at the edge of her vision. She'd made this room her sanctuary, her prison. The entries grew more frantic until they stopped altogether. The last page had no words, only a dried, dark smear of something that had once been wet, and beside it a crude, smiling face drawn in the same substance. That night, as the couple lay sleepless, a faint lullaby drifted down from the attic. They found no one there, just a lingering warmth in the air, and the blankets on the tiny bed creased as if someone had just risen. As they backed away, a tiny wooden car on the floor rolled a few inches, coming to a stop at their feet. They packed a single bag and left at dawn, not even bothering to lock the front door. The next family to view the house found it just as they had left it, except for one small detail, a single long dark hair resting on the pillow in the master bedroom. An elderly man next door seemed the perfect neighbor, smiles, waves, fresh bread. He left small cakes and kind notes. He was gentle, quiet, harmless. When she fell ill, he used her emergency key, brought soup, changed sheets, tidied. After she recovered, a note waited. "I like watching you." She found Polaroids of herself, sleeping, some from her illness, others recent. The last image showed him standing beside her in the dark, smiling faintly. Police found a small locked room, walls covered with photos, neighbors all asleep.
He said he only wanted to watch over them.
They committed him. Still, she felt his eyes on her in the dark for a long time after. Two friends' house shared with a tall old fence dividing their gardens. Each night, a scraping like claws on dry wood. They set lights and a camera. Footage showed a new hole. Something moved at the edge and vanished. Then they saw it. A small hand, long thin fingers with broken nails, groping through the grass. It snatched a toy and slipped back beneath. Police uncovered a crude tunnel to a hollow beneath the neighbor's shed. They found trinkets and a pair of tiny, very old shoes. No child lived there. They filled the hole. The scraping stopped. Weeks later, a new sound began, inside their walls. A family found their perfect home. On the first night they heard laughing, thin, reedy, traveling through the vents. A worker searched the ducts, no animals. He found old cloth-wrapped toys. On one, scrawled in crayon, "I play here." They burned them, hoping that would end it. That night the laughter grew louder, filling the house. The mother found small, muddy footprints on her pillow. He sealed the vents. The laughter moved to the closet, the attic, beneath the beds. At breakfast, their 5-year-old said, "They like it when you sing sleepy songs." They left that week. These are true, or at least widely reported. Not castles or graveyards, places like yours. Neighbors we wave to. They can be kind. They can be quiet. They can watch from behind drawn curtains. They can knock late and leave things we can't explain. We trust wood and metal to keep the world out. But what if it's already inside? Some things aren't kept out by locks, and sometimes they're closer than you think. Sleep well.